So I'm Lydon Rego. I'm from the Center for Creative Leadership, and I head up an effort called Leadership Beyond Boundaries, which has a vision of democratizing leadership development. CCL's been around for about 40-some years doing leadership development and have developed really good practices, but it's really been made available to senior level leaders in large companies, and we're trying to take it to the rest of the world. So a big area of focus for us is also on youth development and reaching young people before the age of 30 and actually much earlier in life. So half the people, these are some of the themes we've been talking about at the conference, but half the world's people is under the age of 30. There's very high unemployment, depending on the figures that you see, sometimes as much as 70% in some countries. It's unemployment and underemployment in terms of the lack of utilization of capabilities. And when you talk to employers, as we do because we work with companies all over the world, they say that the people that are coming to them from schools don't actually have the skills that they want. And what's lacking most of all are soft skills. We did a study recently, and you can see some of the data here, and you can see some trend data. So today when you ask people in terms of what are the most important skills that young people need when you hire them, it's the list on the left, and it's around self-motivation and discipline, communication, a lot of the things that we've been talking about at this conference. But 20 years ago, if you look at the right there, it were things like technical mastery and, again, self-motivation and confidence. But the world has changed, right? So the kind of knowledge that you might need that is technical or functional is less important. What's really important is the skills around collaboration, around communication, and the motivation that people have. So here's a model that you have probably seen somewhere in different forms, but you can think about it as 3 layers of being, knowing, and doing, or be, know, do. It's a framework the military uses. And you can think about the outer layer. In fact, most people want the outer layer. They want behavioral change. They want people to act differently. They want them to do something. And the way to actually reach that sometimes is seen as being training, equipping them with actual skills that they might need. Or it might be through education, which is the second layer there. That's about knowing. It's about knowledge acquisition. So where we come in is really starting from that center layer of being, helping people understand who am I, what do I want to do with my life, what are my strengths and weaknesses, and what are the things that I need to do to reach what I want. And once people turn on that switch, then it's possible for them to acquire the knowledge that they might need and acquire the skills that they might need. And in today's world, the half-life of knowledge and skills is shrinking. The world is changing, and we constantly need to adapt and learn. So it really comes from the center that we focus on. So how do we then start to do this at scale? So what we've been starting to do recently is to work with schools. And this is a picture from India, and it happens to be a business school that we're working in, but we're also working in the United States with K-12 schools as well. So we are not only kind of doing it in a short program over the space of a year, but actually doing it over 12 years. And what's interesting about this, it's actually integrated into the curriculum, and it's actually provided by the teachers, and it's for all students, right? And so this is the model that we use in terms of thinking about what are we trying to do at a high level. So it really starts with this notion of leading self, that space of self-awareness and thinking about who am I and what do I want to do with my life. And then it's the second layer of leading with others, as we call it. And this is the layer of soft skills, interpersonal skills. And these are the things that oftentimes employers are also looking for that are lacking in people. And fundamentally, from some of the presentations we've heard already, it's also about how do you get young people to bring about change. And young people are not necessarily happy with the way things are. And how do you equip them either through innovation and entrepreneurship skills to actually feel empowered to bring about change in their communities. So what this looks like then for us in some of the work that we do, it's these 4 quadrants of leading self, collaboration, but we also bring in the notions of innovation. So we equip people to think about how do they change things in the world and then start to take action. And the action part of it is really important if you're familiar again with this model that came out of the center. It's that 70% of learning actually that we acquire comes from experiences, from actually doing things. It's not from sitting in the classroom or even being helped through coaching and mentoring. Those are important pieces, but they're a smaller part of the puzzle. So the work that we did in India with the business school, here's some of the outcomes that we had. You can see very strong outcomes and significant learning and change in these 4 areas. Fundamentally, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that people were much more engaged in their communities and felt much more equipped that they can actually bring about change from the skills that they've acquired and the practice of actually doing something tangible. And so the question that I'll leave you with is, what if we could develop these capacities in all students in old schools around the world. I think we've changed the world in a phenomenal way. So I've got some resources on that table, and it's got an evaluation case study of the project that I talked about, some of the data from the research that we've done about the skills that are needed, and a sample of one of the curriculums that we work with. So thank you.